o'clock, so we want to go ahead and get started. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. We are here to talk about an amazing wine cruise, the Wine Cruise for a Cause, of course, Hilinski's Hope, and featuring the wines from Lombardi Wines, VJB Cellars, and Wellington Cellars. There's so much to talk about, lots of exciting things to share. So we'll just go ahead and get started. And forgive me here we go. And your host for today, we are fortunate to have Tony's here, Tony Lombardi, whom I'm sure everybody knows. And so glad that you're here. And Henry, it's great to see you. Glad that you could join us today. For those of you whom I haven't met yet, my name is KK Afre. I'm the VP of Sales here for Expedia Wine Club Cruises. And I always say I have the tough job. I get to put wine and travel together. Life is really rough. So I get to tell you about these fascinating destinations and this particular cruise that we are very excited about. This particular cruise is going to be in July of 2024, and it's called the Paris Normandy or Cruise on the Seine in France. And there's nothing quite like a river cruise in France. For those of you who have perhaps not had the opportunity to enjoy a river cruise, it's unlike any other cruise. There's only 144 passengers, 71 staterooms, really tiny. It's just a great experience. And what's really fun, of course, is the destination that we get to experience together. We're going to be cruising on the Seine. And that means that we're going to start and end in Paris. And of course, that's exciting because if you're like me, you'll find an excuse to do maybe an extra couple of days before or after your cruise in Paris. We're going to cruise all the way down the Seine. We're actually going as far as Le Havre. You can see that on the map there. It's the end port. That's actually where the Seine meets the Atlantic. So it's rather a fascinating itinerary, and you're going to see lots of fun things along the way. As I mentioned, we start in iconic Paris. And as we sail from Paris down past Les Andelys, you're going to find that we're going to go to very exciting things. Le Chateau Girard, you're going to be able to, this is the where Richard the Lionheart's former stronghold, and it's quite fascinating. You're going to see lots of history. As we get all the way out there to the coast, we do get to Le Havre, and Le Havre is where it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the city itself is. And being right there on the Atlantic coast, you're going to see some real fun contrast. You're going to see this modern kind of city, and yet you're surrounded at the same time by these wonderful, quaint villages. One of my favorite things to do there is to go to Honfleur. Honfleur has this quaint little fishing village, and the colors are so vibrant. It's very artistic. As a matter of fact, there's a market right there around the harbor, and that's where you'll find me collecting all my scarves, because they have just beautiful artwork, fun things, and lots of wonderful things to taste right around that center part. And as we leave Honfleur, we're going to come back, and of course, we're going to stop in the iconic destination of the D-Day landings. So this is where we have a chance to go to Omaha Beach, the artillery battery at Langeais-sur-Marne. We're going to also, that's where they have the floating harbor that was used during World War II. And of course, we have the opportunity to either go to the Omaha Beach, or you can also go to Gold or Juno beaches. AmaWaterways does this amazing ceremony at the cemetery there. It was quite moving. This is one of those ports where it can be difficult, but at the same time, so interesting. And the fact that there's such heartfelt emotions with this port of call, it's one of those must-do places. And of course, celebrating an 85th anniversary next year, there's going to be quite a bit going on there. If you don't want to experience the D-Day landing sites, you could also go to the Romanesque Normandy Abbey route, is what it's called, where they take you to some of the historic abbeys of the region. And again, fascinating history. You're talking just spans of hundreds of years of history that you're surrounded with. And then we go on to the capital of Normandy, Rouen. And of course, you can visit the square where Joan of Arc was martyred, or of course, there's the Great Clock. There, it's just so stunning, so colorful, so beautiful. It's one of well, actually, my favorite thing to do here, you're going to hear this a lot. I love the tastes of this region. So there's wonderful chocolate tastings and cheese and the cider that's very famous from this area. So, you know, whenever I think of great wines, I think of great food, and most of us winos are foodies too. So we enjoy a little bit of both, and I'm sure that you will on this itinerary. We're also going to go to Vernon. Vernon, of course, is where Claude Monet's home and gardens of Giverny are right there. And for me personally, having the opportunity to walk across that little bridge in the Japanese gardens, it's absolutely stunning. It's one of those memorable moments, right? And then when we think of artists, we're going to continue on, because as we get to Paris, one of the options that we have is to go to Auberge Ravoux and visit the last home of course, of Vincent van Gogh. And that you can see that little, the Ravoux Inn that's there. And they say that in his last 70 days of life, he created more than 70 works of art in that place. And they say it's still a little haunted. So all these fun different things that you can do on this itinerary. Again, this is one of the major chateaus that you can visit while you're there in Paris. And of course, Paris is just itself, right? So whether you go down the Champs-Élysées, if you want to perhaps visit Montmartre, there's so much to see and do on this itinerary. As you can see, it's a little taste of everything. So much to do and so much to see. Talked a little bit about the destination, but I really would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit too about this river cruise ship that we are going to be sailing on. This is the AmaLyra. And the AmaLyra, again, she's lovely, small. She has to be to go through the particular locks on the Seine. And so she only carries 144 guests. And the ship belongs to AmaWaterways. We could put our wine cruises on just about any river cruise line we wish. We choose specifically to use AmaWaterways because, well, there's a bunch of reasons. Let me share a few of them with you. The ship itself, again, small and quaint, and you're going to see that, for example, this is the entryway into the main restaurant. Lovely, small, quaint. These are the stairways. If you go down to deck 2, if you go up to deck 3, the hotel manager's office is right there. Everything is in close quarters, easy to get about, elegant and well-appointed, but specifically designed to be comfortable, to be your home away from home as you explore. All of the rooms feature, or most of the rooms, with the exception of deck 1, I'm thinking of the other direction. So down at the bottom, deck 1, those are the only rooms that don't have the French balconies. All the others have a French balcony. So that means that, for example, what you see behind those 2 chairs there by the window, those doors open all the way up so that you have the Juliet or French balcony, and your room becomes an extension of the outdoors. So it's quite lovely, especially since we're there in July. So this is a great time to either have the doors open, or better yet, I love to go up onto the top deck on the very top and socialize and enjoy that glass of Prosecco that I've been hearing so much about there, Henry. This is one of the pictures of the front lounge. It's very cozy. It's a great place to just get together. And this is one of the areas where we'll have, they add some extra tables, and we have some of our tastings there in addition to the dining room. AmaWaterways has a wonderful selection of things that are included. And they specifically call this mostly included because quite frankly, you are off the ship almost all day, every day. So with that, it's not the kind of thing where you sit and drink cocktails by the pool. It's really about gathering together again in the evenings. You gather together for breakfasts. So you're going to find that we'll have the welcome cocktails. They have complimentary water cartons because they're trying to be much more eco-friendly. There's mimosas in the morning. There's wine, beer, and soft drinks during lunch and dinner. And then, of course, every evening there is a sip and sail cocktail hour. So this is before dinner. So there's plenty that's going to bring us together and make sure that we thoroughly enjoy. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that that's in addition to the whole wine program that you're going to hear about here shortly. I mentioned food. I'll mention it again and probably again and again, because it's so important that with great wine, we have great food. And what we love is that Ama sources their food locally. So you're going to find that it's fresh produce. If there's a certain fish that's in season, there's all these wonderful access that the chefs on board have to go and get these fresh and local ingredients to make these fantastic meals. And when I say fantastic meals, I have to, of course, mention that AmaWaterways is one of the only cruise lines that has been invited to be part of the Chaîne de Rôtisseurs. That, of course, is a culinary organization that you have to be invited to be part of, and they are. So one of the dinners that you'll have is actually a Chaîne de Rôtisseurs specific menu that they have one evening. And in addition to that, you're going to experience amazing breakfasts. If anyone has, like maybe there's someone who needs gluten-free or is watching their carbs, all of those things are really easy to do aboard an AmaWaterways cruise. There is, of course, the after-dinner tapas. They have all the things that are available to you all the time, and they're all included, even the specialty restaurant. So this is a picture of the main dining room, the main restaurant. And if this is called the Chef's Table. It's a specialty restaurant that's available on the ship. And it's so much fun because it's an open kitchen concept. So you're actually going to see them preparing the cuisine right there in front of you. One of the many things that I mentioned that we love AmaWaterways for is their group excursions, which are included. So I want to really emphasize this part. So many of us have taken ocean cruises before and never taken a river cruise. And we have to think about in advance, oh my gosh, which shore excursion do I want to buy? Which one can I squeeze in? What have I seen before? Is this one worth it? I don't know. How am I going to feel that day? All of that goes away because all of your excursions are simply included, and they expect that you will take them. And to make them more enjoyable, they're going to break up every excursion into 3 groups at least. There's 3 activity levels: the gentle walkers, regular walkers, and active walkers. And even some days they have the late risers tours. What this means is that, let's say that you decide to do an active walker. I will never forget climbing up that castle to visit the Richard Lionheart's stronghold, right? Tromping up the castle. And boy, it was great. But the next morning I thought, yeah, I'm not sure that I want to do that again today. So I had already signed up for one shore excursion, walked down to the shore excursion desk, said, you know what, I think I'd like to do something else. We talked about which one I'd like to do. They handed me 2 tickets, and it was that simple. So that fluidity that makes it just so easy, you never have to worry about what you want to do well in advance. It's just all included. So we love, love, love this. And of course, for those of you who are super active, I saw Tony saying that he's going to climb to the top of that hill, and more power to you. It's great. You can do it all. You can keep your pace as you like. And like I said, you can change your mind, but they do have some great active excursions that do include a little bit more of hiking up to the top of the hill or the bike rides. And on this particular itinerary, there's some really neat bike rides. And they are traditional bikes. And it's so nice to be able to do that. To take a little bike ride in the afternoon. And what I also enjoyed on this last trip that I just took was in the afternoon, after all the other organized bike rides, they had the bikes available. So that meant that maybe I just wanted to take a short little ride. Maybe I wasn't up for the full tour, but a short little ride along the Seine on a bike. And that's certainly something that's easy to do. They also, of course, have fitness classes on board to make sure that all of those wonderful treats that we eat, that we don't feel guilty about them. So you can participate or not as you please, but yoga on the top deck, a little stretching, it's good for everybody. Another great thing is that you can stay connected. They have complimentary high-speed wireless internet. I love the way all companies say that they have high-speed wireless internet. I'm just going to rephrase that. Do they have wireless internet? It is great for posting pictures. It's great for communicating back and forth with home, but it's not like you want to stream things. So I just want to be honest about that. So you're going to find that we've talked about the itinerary. We've now described the ship a little bit. You've heard a little bit about that. But to bring it all together, really, it's about the wine experience, right? And how lucky are we that we have our representatives here? So introducing your wine host for this trip, Tony Lombardi is there, and Henry, I see you too. And I'm just going to invite the two of you to chat for a bit about what you have planned for this incredible cruise.
Wow, what a great job, KK. You are so great as a host. To take us through the certainly the amenities, and but now it's on to the cast of characters, right, Henry?
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for coming. I'm Tony Lombardi with Lombardi Wines, and this will be our third AmaWaterways river cruise. I did do another one on another cruise line, but I love Ama. And it was a chance meeting the owners, Kristen, down in Burbank, actually this very weekend, which I'm going down there this weekend for the California Wine Masters Cystic Fibrosis event. And she said, you got to check out our cruise line. And I'm so thankful I did. And it has been some of my best memories for my family, certainly friends, and our immediate family with Drew and Aiden and Christine. You know, even more so, this one has a special place in our hearts because it's going to fund and help and assist our family's foundation and its work to help our youth, student athletes at universities and high schools across the country. A lot of the stuff right even in our backyard, but the stuff that Mark and Kim Hilinski, founding board members, and their work to visit schools, to touch these kids, to help them with their mental health and wellness. And it is our life's work. And I'm so thankful to mix both worlds, right? Wine, food, friends, cause, around a great week that we're going to have in July of 24. Paris, Normandy, back to Paris. I've done this same trip with my two boys, not on the river, but gone and walked Omaha Beach, gone to the American Cemetery, and it's been some of our best memories, and I can't wait to return. Henry and I and Lindsay and the team at VJB in Wellington have spent some time together and started to build what will be our wine program, the seminars, the tastings, you know, to the reception when we all greet each other and welcome aboard, to the various days of cruising where we'll do our seminars and tastings, introduce you to our wines, our stories, and our families. And then, you know, a couple of wine dinners where we'll pair with chef on board with a 3- and 4-course menu with some of our wines. We're digging deep into our cellar, right, Henry?
That's right.
So we're bringing the Petaluma Gap, the Sonoma Valley, to the Seine, which is also so great. I love these rivers. One of the reasons I picked these rivers, she mentioned the Danube, or was that the Rhine? Now I'm getting them confused. I think it was the Danube where we did that hike up to where King Richard was incarcerated, and Christine and I did that hike twice, and I love it. I'd do it again. It's a tough one, but I love these regions for wine. These are some of my favorite regions in the world for exotic whites. Imagine Rieslings and Gruners and Pinot Gris and these beautiful aromatic and textured white wines that have so much going for them in terms of their approach, their accessibility. They go with everything. And they age well in your cellar. And so I keep going back to these same rivers. And so who doesn't love Paris? And so I'm excited to go to Paris and start this cruise, but more importantly, back to the part where I get to bring longtime family friends. Henry and I have known each other a long time. Go Newman. We went to high school together. We both went to the same college and university. he's much younger than me. But I'm excited to bring our families together for a week and to be with friends and family. And we will. This is going to be 130 people on a boat with 5-star service of hotel, wine, food, where we're going to know each other. You know, it's intimate. And that's what I love about European river cruising. It is just so intimate in that way that KK talked about the food and the level of excellence there. You're going to want to almost try to miss a meal because they try to feed you for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner every day, and snacks in between. So there is exercise. There are ways to walk a mile. So, but what we won't, miss is doing this: grabbing a bottle, going up to the top deck, and pouring yourself a nice glass of wine, and hanging out and chilling. Henry, you're up.
Oh, thanks, Tony. And KK, yeah, I echo Tony's comments about your ability to not only share the excursions and the experience, but for us, we've done, Lindsay and I and our team here at the wineries, we've done, I think, 7 wine cruises now, but they've all been on bigger ships, 400 or 500 people at a time. And although they're not the 1,000 or 2,500 persons, you still kind of get lost on a ship like this. So for us, this opportunity is very exciting to not only my family, but our team, because of the intimacy that Tony alluded to, that we're going to have on the ship. Also, we've always been on the Mediterranean. This is our first river cruise, which is really exciting for us. Honestly, a ship of that size, where I think we may be strangers on the first night, but perhaps middle of the week we're friends, and by the end, and we're debarking, we're family. So there's a lot for us to look forward to. I would be remiss if I wouldn't add to the fact that this is really the first time we've had the opportunity to pair with another winery. And I don't think I could have asked for a better partner to be able to do this in the Lombardi family and Tony specifically. And then take it one step further to be able to add the foundation and Hilinski's hope to this as kind of a flag for us to carry and to be able to bring additional recognition to folks that we may be bringing along on the trip, and anybody else that might be experiencing it for the first time. So, look, we're really excited. I mean, Paris and France, we've been to, but this will be the first time that we get a chance to experience it from the concepts of the river cruises. So we're very excited. I know the food is going to be exceptional because you guys have talked about it at length. I mean, clearly some of the pictures that you've shown us, KK, the amenities are going to be absolutely over the top. And look, some of our guests are going to be trying our wines for the very first time, because you can't find our wines in stores. You can't find them in restaurants. So this will be an opportunity for guests to be able to experience my family's wines for the very first time, and hopefully we'll be able to leave a long-lasting impression. So yeah, Tony, we can't wait. It really can't come soon enough.
Amen, brother. I will add just real quickly before tossing it back to KK is the Hilinski's Hope program. So I touched on the fact that Henry and I have met to figure out that those days and times we are together for wine and experiencing our small lot family wines during those occasions. The other part is building a program that we're gonna really touch and dive into the work of Hilinski's Hope. And so what's going to be on me and Christine and my family is to put together a program that really tells you what's the heart, what's the message behind the work we do, but what's the lasting impression and impact we'll have on children and generations going forward. Like I said, it's our life's work, and so we'll build a program that will have perhaps a silent auction, a couple of live auction items. Think of like sports memorabilia, because this is college sports. This is what we know. My nephews were college quarterbacks, and my boys for college baseball athletes, Henry's in the soccer world. So we know that impact and just the stress of, say, student athletes, academics, athletics, social, in a time span where they're just struggling to find out who they are. And so imagine your kids, and you guys all have these stories. Your kids go away to school, and so we want to provide those tools that help them and support them, and remove that stigma associated with the need for mental health assistance, and just make it physical health, right? So the work that we do, the people that are going to be joining us, you're going to join us on that mission, and I love that. So back to the part of a silent auction and a live auction with some items that are unique. They might be winery experiences, tours, tastings, long boozy lunches, dinners at really cool places here that we go to, in Healdsburg, in Sonoma, in Petaluma, in Sonoma County. And so I will lean on a lot of my winery friends to bring, large format bottles and unique winery experiential lots that we could auction off to further benefit our cause and our mission. So that will also be a part of this week that we're together, which I'm really excited about.
It sounds like such an exciting week. I'm jealous that I don't get to go with you, but I will be with you in spirit, that's for sure. So congratulations on this awesome program that you guys have put together. I know that everyone will have a brilliant time. I thought I would take a quick opportunity too, because of course the only place you can book that is with us. And so I just want to share with you really quickly, for those of you who may see Expedia as part of our name, oftentimes that invokes the thought of a call center. We're not. We are office located right here in Petaluma, California. And we happen to be we're the top agency for the Expedia Cruises brand. We're very proud of that, but really more proudly of the winery partners that we have and our guests who come back to us year after year after year, because we have a wonderful professional team for you to work with. So we're going to do it all. So you're going to give us a call or send us an email, click on our link, and what will happen is you'll speak to one of our wine team professionals. And that means it will help you with your air, your hotels, your getting there, booking your cruise, everything from the moment you leave your home until you get back home again. We want to make sure that we take care of all of those things for you. So with that, you can see the telephone number on your screen. I encourage you to take a quick snapshot with your camera so that you have it handy with your phone. But also I would love to, at this time, just open it up a little bit. If you have questions, I am very happy to answer any of the questions that come up. I love for people to stump me. It's just one of those things that is way too much fun. So we can call it the Stump KK, but if you have any questions, I'd love to hear about them. Best way to do that would be to unmute yourself and just kind of go ahead and ask. I don't know if there are any. I see some people.
Hey, Tony, it's Malcolm Stewart. How are you?
Malcolm, my old buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great.
How's the Pacific Northwest?
I get camera on too here. Hey, good to see you. I just want to say we joined you last summer on our trip down the Danube, and just like everyone said, it's a amazing experience on these small ships and really relaxing. I have one question though. Last year I heard someone had a cabin class that had a butler. And so I want to find out, what do we need to do to get that level this year?
Well, unless Tony plans on putting a towel over his arm and walking down to knock on your door and polish your shoes, there are no butlers on this particular ship. So we are a little bit smaller. So you're going to find that there are only 3 suites and one almost suite available on this particular ship. So if you want those top accommodations, you're going to have to make sure to grab them quick. I think
thank you.
That is one of the messages on I think that we want to share, that with a small ship, 71 rooms, yeah, good locations, they just kind of go quick.
Sure. Thank you.
Love it, Malcolm. Love it.
Look forward to joining you.
I can't wait to see that. I want pictures of him shining your shoes.
Oh, it's probably going to happen.
Oh, but thank you for that question. Any other questions out there? So I'll probably just address a couple of things that are common things that we hear. So we do on this particular ship have a couple of special solo staterooms. There are only 2 of them. And so they have special pricing. So if there's any of our guests who are looking to travel by themselves, that might be an opportunity for you to grab one of those because it's going to save you some money. And then, of course, it's really important to remember that, we're traveling in France. Your passports have to be valid for at least 3 months. Currently, they say that they're going to change that to 6 months starting next year. So the validity has to be good for 6 months after you return. So that's one of those little details that we want to think about way in advance, because we know that passports take some time to renew these days. We don't want to wait to the last minute and have someone not be able to go. Trying to think of some of the other things that you might need to know. Dress on board is very casual. You're going to find that almost like what Henry said about the intimacy, where, everyone the first night wears a jacket. No one ever wears a tie. Ties are just absolutely taboo. But I so often see a jacket on the first night. And then by the second night, jackets are gone. Everybody's comfortable with one another. And the only time you may wear it is if you extend in Paris and go out for dinner, you might want that jacket again. But if not, it's fairly casual on board. And again, very easy with the accommodations. All the rest of the rooms are double occupancy. The beds together, beds apart. Pretty straightforward. I see there is a question in the chat box. Let me see if I can get that for you.
Well, I did just put in the chat room, if anybody wanted to visit that, to also either post some questions, is I put my contact information, obviously my name, but my email, my website. So if you need that, certainly grab it. I will also say that this view is behind me, if you can kind of see it, is about 1,200 feet up on top of Bennett Mountain, looking due west in the Petaluma Gap, where I make my wines. And this winery and my longest friend, Cabell Corsi, helps me make my wines up at his winery, Corsi Graves. And so this is also a personal invitation to reach out and come visit. Perhaps it's kind of, relatively close to Glen Ellen and then Sonoma. So we could do lunch at VJB and then end up on top of Bennett Mountain with a private tour and tasting. You got to know a guy who knows the gate code at the bottom of the hill to come up the hill and visit the caves and sit out on this little platform that has just this beautiful views. So personal invitation.
Hey, thanks, Tony. That's a great reminder. I did the same for everybody. I put my phone number, contact information in the chat. KK, we've got a couple that is interested. They couldn't be on the call today, but one of the things that he asked was, is there a cigar lounge on the boat or anything along those lines?
So no, there is not a cigar lounge. However, there's this wonderful place called the Top Deck. And I will tell you that on the last cruise, there was a particular group I seem to recall having cognac and cigars on the top deck. So, so yes, it is out of doors. There is no smoking indoors on this vessel. And
Right.
so, great question.
But I can pass along that they a certain Lombardi was up on top deck with cognac and cigars. Right? Does that certain Lombardi also provide them? And are they Cuban?
And are they Cuban? No, I mean, can you think of a better spot to be on the top deck with the views and vistas that, late night under a moon? I don't even know the schedule, if it's a full moon or not, but I mean, there's no better place to be, especially this time of year with the weather, and it could just be ideal, so amazing. There was another question in the chat. Go ahead.
There was a question about the cost and payment structure, and that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So Gigi, there is a deposit. There is a deposit of it's usually $400 per person, and the of which 200 is non-refundable, which is very common for river cruises. And so that is taken at the time that you book. And then it's about 120 days before the trip is when final payment is made. There's one intermittent deposit about halfway through, about 6 months prior. So it is broken up for you. And when you call and reserve your room, we always give you 7 days to make your deposit. So so when you call, you can talk to one of our wine team about the different pricing. As soon as you inquire, what we automatically do too is we send you some links in email so that you can actually look at all the different stateroom types and see the different pricing for the different locations. And that way you can make some choices. And, I do really, really encourage questions. Our team, they're all pros. They've all sailed on these ships. And it's just so nice to be able to talk one-on-one about what's important to you, where your stateroom is located, and how it works best for you. We do have some guests who they decide to make payments because maybe they can max out their miles on certain months or whatever, but whatever happens, we can work with you. So, yes. Hopefully that answers your question. It's pretty easy.
I will say that I just booked for my 2 boys who will be joining their room and made their deposits in the last week, and also made arrangements for other various family members. So I encourage you to start doing it. Explore the different classes, the different rooms that are available, and just find something that works for you. And before your choices are limited. So we obviously, being a host on this cruise, I wanted to get ahead of it pretty quickly because I know they start to accelerate and book out once there's urgency, right? So I know, like, Henry and Lindsay at BJB in Wellington and myself, if you're on our lists and our mailing list, we'll send periodic reminders about our cruise together, dates that are important, things like that. I mean, like he said, our wines are not available, so we don't really communicate a lot via campaigns. But when we do, it's usually around a spring release or a fall release or something like this, that is, we want to get ahead of. And since there's some planning involved, because some people, if you're in Europe, you want to be there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and because you're going across the pond. And I know our family is exploring the idea of going in early and maybe spending some time in Italy before our week together, and then finish our time in Europe with this cruise together. So things like that, to make it a family and an experience. So that's all I got.
Yeah,
Kiki, could you talk a little bit about the first couple of days? I mean, are you encouraging guests to arrive a little bit early? Can they, if are they at a hotel and then have some type of shuttle to the cruise line, or what does that look like?
That's a great question. So it can look a lot of different ways. So the cruise line, AmaWaterways, does have a pre-Paris program. So for someone who really likes the structure of having the cruise line organized, that we do offer that pre-package. However, we also find that there are lots of guests who want to come in maybe for a whole week early. We even have some guests already who are extending. We are connecting them with the Bordeaux cruise directly following the sailing. So they're going to actually come in and do the Paris Normandy with you guys. And then we're taking them with the TGV down to Bordeaux, and they're extending on with a 7-day Bordeaux cruise. So making it a little bit longer. There's even another couple who are taking a Rhine cruise afterwards. So we're able to do lots of different combinations. So whether somebody wants to come in, we always recommend that that you come in at least one day before. Why? Because, airlines are airlines, and sometimes there's delays, whether it be weather or mechanical, whatever the reasons may be. So we always encourage that you come in at least one day before, and we will help them to make a selection of where to stay in Paris. Some folks have points that they want to use. Others want us to come up with hotels for them. We have a wide variety. We also arrange all the transfers from the airport to the hotels to the ship, all seamless. So lots of different opportunities. And then I know there's a couple of questions that I'm going to just incorporate here. I love the person who says, do you know what kind of weather it's going to be? I wish that my crystal ball was working. I noticed it broke back in 2019 and hasn't worked since, but traditionally July is warm in this part. And what's really great about that is the fact that you're going to have that upper deck. That's going to be just a delightful place. You have the doors that open. The whole ship is air conditioned, but you have those lovely sunny days. And with the way the ship goes out to Honfleur there at the Atlantic, what I love is that you have breezes. This entire stretch of the river has breezes. That's not always the case for some of the more inland rivers that we explore. So it's quite lovely, but it is lovely warm in that sense. And then, of course, someone asked, let me quickly scroll back here, must you be a wine lover to be able to enjoy this trip? Not necessarily. So the nice thing is that almost everyone I've encountered as far as both Tony and Henry's organizations are just really fun people to be around. So you don't necessarily have to be drinking their wine to have fun. Of course, some of us will feel that makes it better, but you certainly don't have to be. There's great opportunities to, as you saw from the ports of call, the history of this region is phenomenal. There is so much and so many choices that you have. So you could thoroughly enjoy this entire trip without necessarily needing to drink wine or perhaps enjoy wine and yet still support an amazing cause, right? So to be part of this message that needs to be shared out there, we would just love for you to participate, even if you don't drink. I think that's absolutely the case. And let me see, I saw another one fly through here.
Okay, could I also just follow up on that thought? Because just to share with the group, when Tony, Lindsay, and I got together about trying to create the experience on the ship, I mean, I think the one common denominator was we recognize that it's everybody's vacation. And so not monopolizing their time all the time was something that was very important to us, because we know that they're there for a number of different reasons, celebrate an anniversary, a birthday, or celebration of life, whatever it might be. So I think Tony did a great job of expressing some of the things that we were doing on the ship, but it's not like we're going to monopolize our guests day in and day out, evening in and evening out. I think it's spread out over the week's course, and so if someone isn't into necessarily the experience of wine, I think there's going to be plenty for them to do.
Absolutely. And I think also important to note is that none of the wine program interferes or conflicts with shore excursions. So we always make sure that it's done after or during sailing time. So for those of you who are looking for the wine experience, but want to make sure that you can still experience everything, you can have it all. So it's well arranged in that way.
No, I will echo that. You could simply just chill out in your room too, which is kind of cool, or just, go up on top deck and chill as we take off for another sailing. It's those times we're together on the boat or on the ship itself that we've built some programming, and we're not doing something every day. And we tried to be respectful of that. I've been on cruises in the past where it was something every day and every night and doubling up, and it could be a lot. It's a lot for us, to tell the same old stories over and over again. But right. But the way this cruise is structured, I think the lasting impression is you're going to want to do another one. And because of the intimacy, because it's a smaller ship, and because you're simply cruising down rivers that are looking into people's backyards. I mean, this is the way that it was transportation of goods and people for centuries. And so that's what's kind of cool. And these rivers that run through Europe, KK mentioned them, the Rhine and the Danube and the Rhone and the Seine. I mean, these all are interconnecting waterways. And this is such a great way to explore these little cities as we just pull into port and then, hop off the ship and wander into these little towns and, you know, find art, find history, find cafes. And, you know, that's what's really, really cool. And that's why I keep coming back to this way of cruising.
It is addicting.
Yeah, got me.
That it is. Oh, well, I think we've answered all the questions that we have for today. And I want to remind everyone that we did record this. And so we'll go ahead and send it out to everyone who RSVP'd, in case I saw some of you had to come in or popped out and came back in. So if there was any difficulties in hearing, we'll send the recording out. Thank you so much, Tony and Henry and Lindsay. Thank you so much for participating and for this partnership. We are truly honored to be able to support your cause, as well as your sharing of your amazing wines throughout both.
Oh, last question.
Yes.
There seems to be a last question. The question about the solo rooms.
The solo rooms. When I checked, there was still solo rooms available. So I did not check today, truthfully. So if you want to give us a call here at the office, we'll make sure that we find out for you straight away. Unfortunately, It just says iPad, so I don't know who it is. So if you send us a message or give us a call here at the office, we'll be happy to check that for you right away. Yeah.
Thank you all for spending the better part of almost an hour together on a Thursday night. So thank you, hearing our stories, our experiences. Thank you to KK and Henry and Lindsay, and and thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. And yes, you're welcome to forward the recording out to all of your friends. Tell them to come and join you. Excellent.
Right on.
Thanks, everybody.
Giddy up.